When you think of a forest, what comes to mind? A dense maze of trees, still and unmoving, roots locked into the earth. Branches swaying with wind, yes, but otherwise frozen in place. Forests, we assume, stay put. They don't travel. They don't migrate. They don't move. But there's a kind of forest that defies this expectation. One that moves, not quickly, not loudly, but with quiet, deliberate steps spread across years and decades, inching forward, shifting coastlines, rewriting maps. It doesn't walk on legs. It walks on tides, on sediment, on floating seeds and salt-resistant roots. This is the story of mangrove forests, sometimes called the trees that walk. But really, they adapt. They creep. They retreat. And above all, they persist. As sea levels rise, as storms reshape the land, as human cities press closer, these forests make their quiet moves. This isn't science fiction. It's science fact. And today, we'll uncover how and why these forests migrate, and what their movement tells us about the changing planet beneath our feet. They don't look like much at first glance. In some places, they appear as twisted, low-growing thickets. In others, as tall, shadowy stands with their roots out in the open, like trees standing on stilts, balanced delicately above the waterline. These are mangroves, a unique group of trees and shrubs that grow only in one of Earth's most unstable ecosystems, the muddy, brackish edge where rivers meet the sea. They live in saltwater. They breathe in the chaos of tides, waves, and silt. They anchor themselves in places other trees would drown. Their roots twist and tangle above the mud, partly for support and partly to breathe. Some roots shoot out sideways. Others curve like claws. They look strange, alien, almost menacing. But they're brilliant. These root systems do more than hold up the trees. They trap sediment. They slow waves. They build land. And they host life. Mangroves are nurseries for fish, crustaceans, mollusks, and birds. Without them, tropical shorelines would collapse, literally and ecologically. There are over 80 different species of mangroves around the world. They stretch across Southeast Asia, the Caribbean, West Africa, Australia, and beyond. Wherever they are, they do the same thing: stand between land and sea, and slowly, steadily walk the line. Mangroves have always moved, but now they're doing it faster and with higher stakes. Unlike most trees, mangroves don't grow from typical seeds. They use propagules, live seedlings that develop while still attached to the parent. Once mature, these propagules drop into the water, float with the tide, and settle in new soil. It's like a tree sending out tiny boats, each one looking for better ground. And this is how mangroves migrate. They don't uproot themselves. They colonize. They test new zones, and where the balance of salt, mud, and sunlight is just right, they put down roots. This movement isn't random. It's highly sensitive. Mangroves know when the salt content becomes too high, when the tidal patterns shift, when storms wash away soil, when rivers bring new sediment. And over time, they respond. They abandon failing zones and spread toward new ones. It's evolution in slow motion. It's ecological intelligence without a brain, a quiet migration that few notice until the trees are gone, or growing somewhere new. To understand how mangroves move, you have to understand what they're resisting. Salt. It's everywhere in their world, in the water, in the soil, in the air. Too much salt is deadly for most plants. But mangroves have evolved ways to filter and reject it. Some species block salt at the root. Others absorb it, isolate it, and push it out through their leaves, literally sweating salt onto the surface. But even with these superpowers, there's a limit. When seawater levels rise too fast, when storms push saline waves deep inland, when dry seasons concentrate salt in the soil, even mangroves begin to suffer. Their roots become less efficient. Their seeds stop germinating. Whole stands die off, and so they move. Not the way an animal would, but in the way a system responds to pressure. They send out propagules toward lower salinity zones. They expand toward freshwater tributaries. They climb slowly uphill. You won't see it in a day, but return in 20 years, and the forest may have shifted hundreds of meters inland, or vanished entirely. This is the tightrope mangroves walk. Too much salt, and they retreat. Too little, and they lose their niche. They live on the edge, and they move to stay there. Mangroves don't rely on luck to survive shifting coastlines. They rely on design, or rather evolution. Their root systems are masterpieces of survival engineering. Some grow prop roots that arc from trunks into the soil, stabilizing the tree like scaffolding. Others develop pneumatophores, upright roots that shoot from the ground like snorkels, allowing the plant to breathe in oxygen-deprived mud. These root networks are not just structural, they're exploratory. They detect where water is too salty, too acidic, or too unstable, and redirect growth accordingly. But the true genius of mangroves lies in how they reproduce. Their propagules aren't just seeds. They're pre-built saplings, miniature trees ready to take root the moment they find favorable ground. Some species release them immediately, letting the tides carry them far. Others drop them directly below, building dense thickets that reinforce existing stands. This isn't chaos. It's a strategic dispersal mechanism, one that ensures mangroves migrate in response to rising seas, shifting rivers, and environmental stress. In many ways, their migration is written into their roots. They don't run from change. They build through it. Nowhere is this more visible than in the Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove forest, stretching across India and Bangladesh. Here, an area larger than some countries balances between the Bay of Bengal and a labyrinth of rivers, tidal creeks, and deltas. The Sundarbans is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is home to hundreds of plant and animal species, including the endangered Bengal tiger. But the forest is shifting. Over the last few decades, satellite data has revealed something astonishing. The Sundarbans is migrating inland. Rising sea levels, increased salinity, and cyclones have killed off huge sections of coastal mangrove. But inland, new patches are emerging. Where once there was bare mud or farmland, entire villages have been abandoned. Salt water has replaced fresh water. The forest is reclaiming land one propagule at a time. This isn't just environmental, it's existential. For millions of people living nearby, the moving forest is both protector and warning. If it disappears, so does the coastline. Mangroves aren't just moving, they're protecting. These forests are among the most powerful natural defenses we have against climate change. They sequester more carbon per square meter than most rainforests. Their dense root systems buffer coastlines from erosion. They reduce wave energy during tropical storms. And they provide critical habitats that support marine biodiversity, from fish nurseries to migratory birds. In fact, during extreme weather events like tsunamis or cyclones, mangrove belts have saved countless lives. They absorb the impact. They hold the land together. But here's the twist. As climate change worsens, mangroves are pushed further. Warmer oceans, acidifying waters, and stronger storms force them to migrate faster or face collapse. So even as they fight for us, we must fight for them. The mangrove's march isn't just ecological. It's defensive. It's protective. It's quietly heroic. When mangroves migrate, they don't move alone. They carry with them entire ecosystems, webs of life that depend on their presence. From crabs and oysters that live in the mud, to birds that roost in their branches, to fish that hatch in their roots and swim into open sea, mangroves are biodiversity engines. As they move, these creatures must follow, or adapt, or vanish. How fast can a forest actually move? The answer might surprise you. In the right conditions, mangroves can shift inland at a rate of 10 to 30 meters per year. That's faster than many people expect from something so slow. It's not like a herd. It's not even like a river. It's more like a tide, measured in years. But here's the twist. Their speed isn't limited by nature alone. When there's room to move, when floodplains are open and freshwater access is available, mangroves advance steadily. But when their path is blocked by human infrastructure, seawalls, roads, agriculture, the migration slows or stops. This leads to coastal squeeze, a scenario where mangroves are trapped between rising seas and immovable barriers. And when that happens, they don't adapt. They die. A moving forest depends on space, on patience, on the absence of resistance. Which makes you wonder, are we building a world too fast for nature to catch up? Despite their resilience, mangroves are among the most threatened ecosystems on the planet. In the last 50 years, we've lost over 35% of the world's mangroves. In some countries, over 80%. Why? Coastal development, shrimp farming, logging, pollution, tourism expansion, and a lack of awareness. Cities push up against coastlines, draining estuaries, replacing mudflats with concrete. Entire mangrove belts have been cleared for roads, resorts, ports. Each loss isn't just a patch of trees. It's a breach in a natural wall, a lost fish nursery, a broken carbon sink, a vanished line of defense. And the irony? As sea levels rise and storms grow stronger, we're removing the very forests that protect us. It's like tearing up your raincoat in a storm. Can plants think? Not in the way we do. They have no brains, no nerves, no minds, but they respond. They sense gravity. They follow the sun. They communicate through chemical signals in roots and leaves. They remember drought. They adapt to stress. Mangroves take this to another level. They don't just grow, they map. Their roots probe the soil for salt, for nutrients, for texture. Their propagules float, test, reject, or attach. They learn which direction gives them the best chance. This isn't awareness, but it's not randomness either. It's emergent intelligence, built not from neurons but from millions of years of survival. Mangroves are engineers, cartographers. They rewrite coastlines, rebalance salt, restructure sediment. They aren't just trees that live by the sea. They are the reason the coastline exists at all. Yes, but it takes intention. Assisted migration is an emerging conservation strategy where humans help species move in response to climate change. With mangroves, this can mean planting propagules in advance of rising seas, creating corridors inland where forests can grow, restoring estuaries and removing barriers, using predictive models to identify future mangrove zones. In some regions of Australia and India, community projects are already doing this, helping mangroves leap over human walls so they can keep walking. Technology can help too. We can use drones, satellite data, and AI to monitor where mangroves are struggling and where they might thrive next. But the most important thing? Letting nature move, giving it space, letting rivers meander, leaving buffers between urban zones and wild ones, because these forests want to survive. They know how to move. They just need room to do it. Not all forests move forward. Some retreat. In areas where salt levels spike, sediment is stripped, or storms hit harder year after year, mangroves don't expand. They wither. This retreat is often mistaken for death. And in some cases it is. But in others it's strategic, a way for the forest to recalibrate. When a region becomes too hostile, mangroves send their propagules further away, hoping to restart where conditions are better. They shed limbs. They sacrifice outer roots. They shrink in order to survive. But if there's nowhere left to move, no open estuary, no silt-rich delta, no retreat zone, then the forest has no choice but to vanish. Retreat without renewal is not migration. It's extinction. And in a world of rising seas and hard shorelines, more forests are being pushed into silence. Gone. Mangroves protect over 3,000 species of fish and animals. They feed millions of people. They filter water. They store 5 times more carbon than tropical rainforests in their roots and mud. Without them, we lose more than trees. We lose balance. And the forest doesn't grow back easily. It takes decades, even centuries, to recover what we erase in years. Letting mangroves move isn't just good science. It's necessary survival. So the next time you look at a coastline, stop and really look. You might see roots rising from mud. You might see strange trees standing in water. You might not think much of them, but they're watching the tide. They're testing the salt. They're growing with intention, because this is not just a forest. It's a living frontier. It doesn't stand still. It doesn't shout, but it moves quietly, constantly to survive. And it tells a story about life that moves to live, about trees that walk even without legs, about survival that takes time, patience, and space. So let them walk. And if this story moved you, subscribe for more hidden wonders of the earth. Like the video to help this reach others. Share it with someone who sees nature as more than background. Until next time, respect the tide and walk with the forest.